Do you wake up to your alarm feeling like you never even went to sleep? Your head is heavy, your energy levels are flatlining, and you've got a whole day stretching out in front of you. Sound familiar? If so, chances are you, like millions of others, have fallen victim to popular sleep myths. These supposed folk wisdoms are passed down through generations, but in reality, they are robbing you of your precious resting hours. In this video, we're going to expose the top 20 sleep misconceptions. And I promise you, after watching this, you'll look at your pillow and blanket differently. And most importantly, you'll finally learn how to start getting genuinely restorative sleep. By the way, what is the weirdest piece of sleep advice you've ever heard? Drop a comment down below right now, and we'll compare notes at the end of the video. Sleep isn't just a rest period. It's a complex biological process during which your brain essentially tidies up and your body performs critical restoration. But for centuries before the rise of modern science, people tried to explain this mysterious process any way they could. This is how the myths were born, through basic observation, superstition, and plain misunderstanding. Some of these myths are harmless, but others can cause real damage to your health and well-being. Today, we're going to separate the wheat from the chaff, relying on modern research from sleep specialists. Prepare to be surprised, because much of what you thought was true might just turn out to be nothing more than a bedtime story. Let's start with the classic. Myth number 1. You can catch up on all the sleep you missed during the week over the weekend. It sounds so incredibly tempting, doesn't it? You spend 5 days running on fumes, coffee, and sheer willpower. Then, on Saturday and Sunday, you sleep until noon to restock your energy reserves. It seems like a perfectly logical compromise for our modern, hectic lifestyle. Here's the catch. Your body isn't a bank account where you can pay off a massive debt with one lump sum payment. Science clearly tells us that accumulated sleep debt simply doesn't work that way. Chronic sleep deprivation during the week disrupts your circadian rhythms, your body's crucial internal clock. When you try to make up for lost time on the weekend, you actually throw those clocks off even more. Imagine giving yourself jet lag every single week. Your body simply loses track of when it should be alert and when it needs to rest. This condition is actually called social jet lag. Research shows that this kind of compensation doesn't fully restore critical cognitive functions like attention span and reaction time. While you might feel a little better, your brain is still operating far below peak performance. Even more concerning, these drastic shifts in sleep routine can elevate the risk of developing serious health issues, including type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So, what's the solution? Instead of trying to pay off the debt, focus on not accumulating it in the first place. The single best thing you can do is maintain a consistent sleep and wake schedule, even on the weekend. If you really didn't get enough rest, a short strategic power nap is far more beneficial than spending hours lying in bed until noon. You'll get the recovery you need without completely throwing your body clock into chaos. Let's move on. The second myth ingrained in almost everyone's mind is that we all need exactly 8 hours of sleep. This number has become the definitive gold standard. If we clock in less, we feel guilty. If we sleep more, we instantly feel lazy. But the truth is, the amount of sleep you need is just as unique as your fingerprints. Sure, the recommended range for most adults is usually 7 to 9 hours. But remember, that's a range. It's not a hard and fast rule. Some people, due to their specific genetics, truly only need 6 hours to feel fully refreshed and productive. Conversely, others might require 9.5 hours for complete recovery. What matters isn't the quantity. It's the quality of your sleep and how you feel the following day. If you sleep 7 hours and wake up feeling rested, energized, and aren't constantly nodding off during the afternoon, then that is your normal. Instead of blindly chasing the magical number 8, you need to listen to your own body. Try this experiment for 1 week. Go to bed when you genuinely feel tired and wake up naturally without an alarm. This will help you identify your true personal sleep requirement. The primary metric is always how you feel throughout the day. If you are alert and productive, then you are getting enough sleep. even if that number falls outside the commonly accepted guidelines. And here is the third and perhaps most deceptive myth: the idea that a glass of wine or other alcoholic drink actually helps you sleep. Many people rely on this ritual to unwind after a tough day. And it's true, alcohol is a central nervous system depressant, so it can initially speed up the process of falling asleep. You might feel drowsy and pass out faster, but that is where the benefits end and the harsh reality begins. Once your body starts metabolizing the alcohol, the quality of your sleep sharply declines. The REM phase, or rapid eye movement sleep, suffers the most. This phase is critically important for processing emotions, consolidating memory, and facilitating creative thinking. Because of this interference, you might find yourself waking up throughout the night and feeling restless. In the morning, even if you spent 8 hours in bed, you won't feel truly refreshed. Furthermore, alcohol relaxes the muscles in your throat, which can worsen snoring and even lead to sleep apnea, a condition involving dangerous momentary pauses in breathing. This is a very serious condition. So, alcohol doesn't actually help you sleep. Rather, it creates a sedative effect that tricks your brain. It essentially steals the most vital and restorative stages of your sleep cycle. If you genuinely want a good night's rest, it's far better to swap that evening glass of wine for a cup of herbal tea or a warm bath. These alternatives help you relax without compromising your rest. Let's talk about fitness. Myth number 4. Evening workouts ruin your sleep. This idea is based on the premise that physical activity raises your body temperature and boosts adrenaline, which logically seems like it would make falling asleep difficult. That's partially true, but only if we're talking about extremely intense, exhausting workouts performed right before you hit the pillow. For instance, heavy weightlifting or high-intensity interval training, HIIT, done half an hour before bed, can definitely get you seriously wired. However, for most people, moderate physical activity in the evening isn't just harmless, it's actually beneficial for sleep. Studies show that evening sessions of yoga, Pilates, swimming, or even a light jog can improve your sleep quality and help you fall asleep faster. The key factors here are intensity and timing. The main rule is to finish your workout no later than 90 minutes before you plan to go to sleep. This gives your body temperature and heart rate enough time to return to normal. What's more, the mild physical fatigue and reduced stress levels you feel after exercising will help you relax faster and sleep more soundly. So don't be afraid to work out in the evening. Just choose the right type of activity and don't push yourself to exhaustion right before bedtime. Your body will thank you with deep, restorative sleep. Who among us hasn't hit that snooze button? Those extra 5 or 10 minutes of sleep feel like a total lifesaver. But myth number 5 suggests that hitting snooze is a harmless habit. In fact, it's one of the worst things you can possibly do to start your day. When your alarm first goes off, your body is already starting its prep phase for wakefulness, raising your core temperature and releasing hormones like cortisol. By hitting that button, you abruptly interrupt this essential process, plunging back into extremely light, fragmented, and poor quality sleep. When the alarm sounds again minutes later, you are jolted awake once more. Repeating this cycle several times essentially throws your brain and body into a state of confusion. This phenomenon, this cycle of sudden stops and shallow sleep, is known as sleep inertia. Consequently, when you finally drag yourself out of bed, you feel even more exhausted and disoriented than if you had just woken up the first time. This morning, fogginess or grogginess can last for several hours, severely impacting your productivity and overall mood. So, what's the solution? The most effective way is simply to build discipline. Set your alarm for the actual time you need to be awake, and crucially, place it far away from your bed. That way, you are physically forced to get up to turn it off. Yes, the first few mornings will be tough, but you will very quickly notice that your mornings become significantly more alert and productive. Myth number 6. I can perform perfectly well on just a few hours of sleep. We often hear this from successful executives or creative professionals who proudly claim to operate on only 4 or 5 hours of sleep. This builds the myth of the superhuman who doesn't need rest. But for the vast majority of us, this is a dangerous delusion. There is an extremely small percentage of people, about 1%, who have a genetic mutation that genuinely allows them to fully recover on minimal sleep. However, the chances that you are one of them are incredibly low. For everyone else, chronic sleep deprivation has a cumulative effect. You might feel relatively normal after a single night of 5 hours of sleep. But if that pattern continues for a week, your brain performance starts to decline dramatically. Studies show that after just a few days of insufficient sleep, a person's cognitive abilities decrease to a level comparable to being legally intoxicated. The scariest part is that you won't even notice it happening. You become accustomed to the constant state of fatigue and reduced concentration, accepting it as the new normal. You genuinely believe you are working effectively, but in reality, you are making more mistakes, slowing down decision-making, and struggling to retain information. Don't deceive yourself. Sleep is not a resource you can cut back on without serious consequences. Prioritizing quality sleep is a critical investment in your productivity, health, and safety. Myth number 7 involves our beloved gadgets. The idea that watching TV or using your smartphone in bed helps you relax and drift off. It seems logical enough. You're lying there, watching something light, and slowly feel yourself getting sleepy. However, from a sleep science perspective, this is actually one of the worst habits you can have before bed. The primary culprit is the blue light emitted by the screens of all modern devices. This short wavelength light is highly effective at suppressing melatonin, our master sleep hormone. When your brain sees this bright light, it signals that it's daytime, and the sleep command simply isn't issued. As a result, you find it harder to fall asleep, and the sleep you do get tends to be lighter and more fragmented. But the light isn't the only issue. The content you consume also plays a significant role. Reading the news, checking work emails, or even engaging in active social media scrolling stimulates your brain, forcing it to stay active instead of winding down. You may experience stress, anxiety, or excitement, none of which are conducive to falling asleep easily. Your brain should associate your bed with only 2 things: sleep and intimacy. When you turn your bed into a movie theatre, an office, or a dining room, that crucial association is destroyed. Your brain stops recognizing the bed as the dedicated place for rest. To improve your sleep quality, enforce a strict rule: no screens for at least an hour before bedtime. Instead, try reading a physical book under soft light, listening to calm music, or taking a warm bath. These activities will help your brain properly wind down and prepare for true rest. Myth number 8. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you should just lie there and try to force yourself back to sleep no matter what. We toss and turn, stare at the ceiling, get frustrated with ourselves and the insomnia, but sleep just won't come. Sound familiar? This tactic isn't just ineffective, it's actually harmful. When you lie awake for longer than 15 or 20 minutes, your brain starts associating the bed with wakefulness and anxiety. You start stressing about not being able to sleep, and that stress makes it even harder to relax. It becomes a vicious cycle. The correct strategy in this situation is to get out of bed. Yes, you heard that right. Move to another room, turn on a dim light, and engage in something calm and monotonous. You could read a boring book, listen to relaxing music, knit, or simply sit quietly. Avoid screens, bright light, and any active tasks, including working or checking email. The goal is to distract yourself from the pressure of sleeping and give your body a chance to naturally feel drowsy again. Only return to bed when you feel sleepiness actually setting in. This method helps break the negative association of bed equals insomnia. It teaches your brain that the bed is a place solely reserved for sleep. So next time sleep won't come, don't torture yourself. Get up, relax, and only go back to bed when you feel ready to fall asleep. Myth number 9. Napping is a sign of laziness and ruins your nighttime sleep. In our hyper-productive culture, taking a daytime nap is often seen as something shameful, a luxury reserved only for kids and retirees. The truth is, a short daytime snooze, or power nap, is actually a powerful tool for boosting productivity and improving overall well-being. Many highly successful individuals, from Winston Churchill to Albert Einstein, were huge advocates of napping. Scientific research overwhelmingly backs up these benefits. A brief nap, lasting between 20 and 30 minutes, can significantly boost focus, enhance creativity, improve memory, and lift your mood. It's essentially a quick reset button for your brain, helping to melt away accumulated fatigue. The secret to the perfect nap lies in both its timing and duration. The sweet spot for a siesta is typically between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., right when our natural circadian rhythms cause that familiar energy dip. And the ideal duration is no longer than 30 minutes. If you sleep longer than that, you risk dropping into a phase of deep sleep which leads to groggy, heavy awakenings, a phenomenon known as sleep inertia. A long daytime nap can interfere with your night's rest, especially if you take it late in the afternoon. However, a short well-timed power nap won't harm your ability to fall asleep later. It will only energize you for the rest of the day. So ditch the guilt, and if the opportunity arises, allow yourself this beneficial mental reboot. The 10th myth is perhaps one of the most comforting and domestic. The idea that a glass of warm milk before bed guarantees sleep. It's a piece of folk wisdom handed down through generations. The belief is that milk contains the amino acid tryptophan. Once ingested, the body uses tryptophan to produce serotonin, and subsequently the crucial sleep hormone, melatonin. In theory, the logic holds up. Tryptophan is absolutely a participant in these biochemical steps. However, there are a few major caveats. First, the actual quantity of tryptophan found in 1 glass of milk is simply too small to produce any meaningful sedative effect. To put this in perspective, foods like cheese or turkey contain significantly higher amounts of tryptophan, yet we certainly don't treat them as reliable sleep aids. Second, for tryptophan to even reach the brain and begin to act, it must successfully navigate the blood-brain barrier. In doing so, it has to compete directly with other amino acids present in the milk. This competition drastically reduces the efficiency of its uptake. So, if the science is shaky, why do so many people swear by warm milk? The true answer lies in psychology. For most of us, drinking warm milk is a cozy, soothing ritual rooted in childhood. It's deeply associated with comfort, safety, and the routine of settling down for the night. The act itself, warming the milk, sipping it slowly, forces us to slow down, disengage from the stresses of the day, and mentally prepare for rest. Furthermore, warm beverages in general provide a slight inherent calming effect. So if this nightly ritual works for you, by all means, keep enjoying it. Just understand that its power is derived not from biochemistry, but from psychology and the sheer strength of habit. It functions far more like a powerful placebo than a genuine sleep aid. Myth number 11 deals with age. The older you get, the less sleep you supposedly need. We often see older adults waking up very early and sleeping fewer hours at night, leading us to conclude that their overall sleep requirement has diminished. That's not entirely accurate. An adult's required amount of sleep remains remarkably consistent throughout their life, generally sticking to that 7 to 9 hour range. What does change with age is the structure and quality of that sleep. As the years go by, sleep becomes more superficial and fragmented. The proportion of deep, slow-wave sleep, which is crucial for physical restoration, decreases. Older people also tend to wake up more frequently during the night due to various reasons: pain, needing to use the restroom, or simply heightened sensitivity to noise and discomfort. Consequently, to meet their sleep quota, they often have to make it up through daytime naps or rest. This is why it often seems like they are sleeping less at night. Additionally, many older individuals experience a shift in their circadian rhythms. Their internal clock actually starts to run faster. They feel drowsy earlier in the evening and consequently wake up earlier in the morning. This is a natural, age-related adjustment. Essentially, older adults require just as much sleep as younger people, but they find it much harder to actually get it. It's crucial not to simply blame poor sleep on old age, but rather to pay attention to these issues. Conditions like insomnia, sleep apnea, or restless leg syndrome are medical issues that require treatment at any age and should never be dismissed as normal signs of aging. Myth number 12, yawning. We commonly assume that if someone is yawning, they must be tired and ready for bed. While yawning frequently accompanies drowsiness, that is far from its only function. In fact, scientists still haven't reached a consensus on the exact biological purpose of yawning, but there are several leading theories. One of the most popular suggests that yawning is actually a brain thermoregulation mechanism. When we yawn, we inhale cool air, which helps chill the blood flowing into the brain. This keeps the brain operating at its optimal working temperature. The brain can overheat not just from fatigue, but also from boredom, stress, or intense mental effort. That's why we might yawn during a dull lecture, before a big presentation, or even in the middle of a workout. Another theory proposes that yawning is a way to boost alertness. The deep breath, combined with the stretching of the face and neck muscles, increases blood flow and temporarily heightens our concentration. This can be beneficial in monotonous situations when attention starts to wander. Yawning is also famously contagious. Some researchers believe this phenomenon is tied to empathy and social bonding. We essentially mirror the state of others. So the next time you see a colleague yawning, don't immediately assume they didn't get enough sleep. Their brain might simply be trying to cool down or refresh itself. Myth number 13 takes us deep inside our skull. The idea that the brain rests while we sleep. It seems logical, right? The body is relaxed, consciousness is switched off, so the brain must be taking a break too. Nothing could be further from the truth. At night, our brain is working, perhaps even more actively than it is during the day. It's just focused on entirely different tasks. Instead of processing sensory information from the outside world, it's conducting a massive spring cleaning and technical maintenance. During the deep sleep phase, the brain actively flushes out toxins and metabolic waste products that accumulated throughout the day. This includes substances like beta amyloid, a protein strongly associated with Alzheimer's disease. This specialized cleansing system, called the glymphatic system, operates primarily while we are asleep. Furthermore, sleep is crucial for memory consolidation. The brain processes the information gathered during the day, transferring important memories from short-term to long-term storage. It sorts through the data, strengthens necessary neural connections, and discards what is irrelevant. This is precisely why quality sleep is so essential for learning. And during the REM phase, when we dream, the activity in certain areas of the brain, responsible for emotions and memory, can be even higher than when we are awake. The brain works through emotions, solves problems, and engages in creative processing. So sleep is not a passive resting period for the brain, but rather an active and vital process of restoration, cleansing, and reorganization. Let's turn our attention to bedroom temperature. Myth number 14 states that sleeping in a cold room is harmful because you might catch a cold. Our mothers and grandmothers always bundled us up in thick blankets and kept the windows firmly shut, terrified of drafts. However, modern sleep science tells a completely different story. For high-quality sleep, our body needs to slightly lower its core temperature. This drop in temperature is actually one of the key signals to the brain that it's time to fall asleep. Sleeping in a cool room facilitates this natural process. The optimal temperature for sleep is typically considered to be in the range of 16 to 19 degrees Celsius. This level of coolness promotes quicker sleep onset and deeper, more restorative sleep. Furthermore, it stimulates the production of melatonin, which is most effectively synthesized in darkness and cool conditions. Conversely, sleeping in a room that is too warm or stuffy prevents your body from cooling down. This interference can lead to restless nights, frequent awakenings, and a reduction in the vital deep sleep stage. Of course, this doesn't mean you should be shivering. You should have a warm, comfortable blanket to keep you cozy, but the air in the room itself should remain fresh and cool. As for catching a cold, remember that illnesses are caused by viruses, not by cold air alone. In fact, sleeping in a stuffy, unventilated room can encourage the growth and spread of germs and bacteria. So, feel free to air out your bedroom before bed and embrace the coolness. It is one of the simplest and most effective ways to significantly improve the quality of your nightly rest. Myth number 15 brings us into the intriguing world of dreams, the belief that they only last for a few short seconds. This common misconception likely stems from the fact that we often only remember short fragments, giving the impression that the whole experience flashed by in an instant. But the truth is, dreams can be quite extensive. We do most of our dreaming during the rapid eye movement, or REM, phase of sleep, and we go through several of these cycles every night. The initial REM cycle is relatively brief, around 10 minutes. However, the duration of this phase increases with every subsequent cycle. Closer to morning, the REM phase can stretch up to an hour, meaning our dreams also become much longer and far more intricate. In total, we spend roughly 2 hours dreaming every single night, accounting for about a quarter of our total time asleep. Scientists who have studied the brain activity of sleepers have confirmed that dream events generally unfold in near real time. If you dream you are walking down a long corridor, your brain dedicates roughly the same amount of time to that task as it would in the waking world. So, why do dreams feel so fleeting? First, we instantly forget most of what we experience. Upon waking, we usually only retain the last and most vivid fragment. Second, the logic of dreams is highly irregular compared to reality. They often feature abrupt scene changes and massive temporal jumps, which creates that feeling of speed and fragmentation. Ultimately, your nightly adventures aren't short clips. They are full-length, complex features produced entirely by your own brain. Let's tackle gastronomic myth number 16, the belief that eating cheese right before bed causes nightmares. This old wives' tale is so ingrained, it's practically folklore. But does it hold any truth? Scientifically, no direct link has ever been established between cheese consumption and nightmares. No serious research has confirmed that any single food specifically triggers bad dreams. So where did this popular misconception originate? There are a couple of possible explanations. Firstly, cheese, particularly aged varieties, contains the amino acid tyramine. In sensitive individuals, tyramine can trigger headaches and affect blood pressure. Crucially, it also stimulates the release of norepinephrine, the body's fight or flight hormone. Theoretically, this hormonal boost might lead to more restless sleep and perhaps more vivid dreams, but it doesn't necessarily translate into nightmares. Secondly, and this is the more probable culprit, any heavy or high-fat meal consumed right before bedtime can severely disrupt digestion. This often leads to physical discomfort, like heartburn, indigestion, or bloating, resulting in restless and highly fragmented sleep. When sleep is interrupted, we are more likely to wake up during the REM stage. Consequently, we are better able to recall our dreams, both the pleasant and the deeply unsettling ones. In summary, the cheese itself isn't the problem. The habit of eating a large heavy meal late at night is. If you swap the cheese for a fatty steak or a big slice of cake just before bed, the digestive effect would be identical. A small serving of cheese is unlikely to influence your dreams, but a rich, indulgent midnight snack certainly could. Myth number 17 deals with learning, the belief that you can't learn anything while you sleep. The idea of putting on a foreign language audio course before bed and waking up fluent seems like pure science fiction. And in that precise form, it truly is a myth. You simply cannot learn brand new information while you're asleep. That requires conscious effort and attention. However, sleep plays an absolutely crucial role in the learning process. As we've mentioned before, memory consolidation is the magic that happens while you sleep. Your brain processes what you learned throughout the day and strengthens the neural connections related to that information. Imagine your brain is a library. During the day, you bring in new books, which is the information. But at night, the librarian, sleep, organises them onto the shelves, creates the catalogue, and discards unnecessary duplicates. Without this nocturnal librarian, your mind would be pure chaos, making it nearly impossible to find the right book the following day. Furthermore, recent research has shown that the brain is capable of certain forms of learning during sleep. For instance, it can reinforce existing memories. If a person listens to words they studied during the day while they sleep, they remember those words better in the morning. You can also form simple associations while asleep, such as linking a specific scent with a particular sound. So, while you won't master quantum physics from scratch while dreaming, without quality sleep, you won't be able to effectively learn it during the day either. Sleep is not a passive process, it is an active partner in your education. We hear the 18th myth almost every night, that loud snoring is just an annoying sound and a sure sign of deep sleep. Many people treat snoring as a joke or dismiss it as a harmless quirk. But in reality, loud, intermittent snoring can be a symptom of a serious and dangerous condition called obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA. Apnea is a condition where a person's breathing repeatedly stops during sleep. This happens because the muscles in the throat and tongue relax and collapse, blocking the airway. These pauses can last from 10 seconds up to a full minute and can occur hundreds of times throughout the night. Each pause causes a sharp drop in blood oxygen levels. The brain sends out an emergency signal, causing the person to briefly wake up just enough to gasp for air. These micro-arousals are usually not remembered, but they completely shatter the sleep architecture, preventing the person from achieving deep, restorative phases. As a result, a person suffering from apnea wakes up feeling completely exhausted or broken, even after spending 8 or 9 hours in bed. During the day, they experience severe drowsiness, irritability, and major concentration issues. But the critical point is this: apnea places a massive strain on the cardiovascular system, significantly increasing the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and high blood pressure. Therefore, if your partner snores loudly, especially if their snoring is punctuated by periods of silence followed by loud snorting or gasping sounds, it is not a cause for jokes. It is a serious reason to urge them to consult a sleep specialist immediately. Myth number 19 is a classic urban legend, the kind that gives most people the chills. The claim that the average person swallows 8 spiders in their sleep over a lifetime. It sounds creepy, and for some reason, totally believable. But let's apply some logic and break this down. This particular myth is a perfect example of how a complete fabrication, often started online as an experiment, can become accepted as common knowledge or fact. The truth is, the probability of actually swallowing a spider in your sleep is virtually zero. Here's why. First, your bed is fundamentally unattractive to a spider. There's no food source, no insects, and it's constantly filled with vibrations from your breathing, heartbeat, and movements. Spiders register these signals as massive threats. They will instinctively avoid a huge, warm, noisy creature, like a sleeping human. Second, put yourself in the spider's position. Would you willingly crawl into a dark, moist cave that has massive gusts of air blowing out of it and loud rhythmic rumbling sounds? Highly unlikely. An open human mouth is exactly that kind of terrifying environment for a small arachnid. Third, even if we imagine a completely deranged kamikaze spider somehow decided to explore your mouth, you would almost certainly wake up. The sensation of something tickling your lips, skin, or tongue would trigger an immediate reflex. You would either swallow it instinctively in your sleep, spit it out, or fully wake up. So you can relax and sleep soundly. Spiders are far more afraid of you than you are of them, and they have absolutely no desire to take a sightseeing tour down your esophagus. This myth is just a spooky story that has zero basis in reality. And finally, the 20th myth often perpetuated in movies, that waking a sleepwalker is extremely dangerous, perhaps even fatal. The common belief is that if you wake someone during a sleepwalking episode, they might suffer a heart attack, go into shock, or even lose their mind. This, however, is a massive exaggeration. In reality, there is no lethal danger in rousing a somnambulist. However, it is still generally advised not to do so, but for entirely different reasons. Sleepwalking or somnambulism occurs during the deepest phase of slow-wave sleep. If you abruptly wake someone at this stage, they will be profoundly disoriented, terrified, and confused. Imagine falling asleep in your bed and suddenly waking up in the kitchen or hallway with someone shaking you. The reaction can be unpredictable. They might panic, shout, or even lash out defensively, completely unaware of their surroundings. This state of confusion can last several minutes. The greatest danger to the sleepwalker isn't being woken up. It's the potential for self-injury during the walk. They could trip, fall downstairs, wander outside, or even attempt to get behind the wheel of a car. Therefore, if you find someone sleepwalking, the safest and most appropriate response is not to wake them, but to calmly and gently guide them back to bed. Use a quiet voice and avoid sudden movements. They usually comply easily, and once they are back in bed, they generally fall straight back asleep. You should only wake them abruptly if they are in immediate, imminent danger. In all other cases, it is best to ensure their safety and gently direct them back to their bedroom. So does this mean almost everything we thought we knew about sleep was wrong? From the concept of catching up on sleep on the weekend to that seemingly innocent glass of wine before bed, we are surrounded by misconceptions that hold us back from living life to the fullest. The biggest takeaway from all of this is the realization that quality sleep isn't a luxury. It's a vital necessity, just like food or water. And it is something we absolutely can and should manage, relying on science and knowledge, not myths. We've successfully debunked 20 myths, and now you know that a stable schedule is far more important than sleeping in on weekends, that alcohol is an enemy to rest, not a friend, and that blue light from your screen truly interferes with falling asleep. The key takeaway: listen to your body and establish healthy, effective rituals. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I truly hope it was helpful. If you learned something new, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future myth-busting videos. Now for the main question: which of these 20 myths surprised you the most? Or perhaps you know another common sleep misconception we failed to mention? Let me know in the comments below. Let's start a discussion.